Today, we are reviewing Todd McShay's way too early 2026 NFL mock draft. Let's jump right into this. If you are new, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Below my face is not my board. It is a projection I had when I first started studying players, but because I'm now only including the guys I have all 22 grades on, I'm allowing it to actually have some room to breathe so that you guys actually end up seeing only not my former grades, but my actual up-to-date grades. We are breaking down the corner class right now. If you guys want to see my thoughts on 25 quarterbacks in the class, technically 26 if you want to look at the comment section on that one. Actually, technically at the description, you can go check that out. But number one overall, the Jets go Garrett Nussmeier. And I'll just be honest, Garrett Nussmeier, I'll spoil it, it's my number 15 quarterback in the class. I think he could easily end up getting to the top 5, but no one wants to talk about this guy being 6'2 and 200 flat. No one wants to bring that up. The guy is literally a McDonald's quarter pounder away from being sub 200. On top of that, he doesn't have the best arm in the world. He makes some of the really good throws because, in my opinion, sometimes the quarterbacks with a little bit of a weaker arm are able to layer a pass a lot better than the guys who kind of strong arm it and have had a little bit more of a experience being able to just gun it into tight windows rather than having to be more precise and layer it. I like Garrett Nussmeier in terms of the layered throws he makes. However, I do think that he's pretty erratic. I think he also doesn't have a great frame. I don't think he has an elite arm, but people just want to herald Garrett Nussmeier as the second coming. I don't see that, but I will say Jaden Daniels took a massive step up. Each year he was at LSU, it was Garrett Nussmeier's first year. I can absolutely see with extra experience that decision-making being a lot better. And then, with that, then who cares about arm strength? If you're able to have a good enough NFL arm, you're making the right decisions, you're able to put it on the right spot. I think it will end up working out, but I do think that Garrett Nussmeier is heavily overrated, at least at the moment. Today's video sponsor is Penalty Verdict, and a one-of-a-kind app that allows you to vote on penalties for both college and NFL games. Let's jump right into the app. First off, you get to pick your team. This is an app based on voting on penalty calls in real time for both college and NFL football games. So you get to choose your team, but that is going to be for the NFL. I do believe that there's going to be a college feature coming soon as well. Of course, this is designed for you to be able to engage with a community of football fans who desire fair play and accountability. Of course, if you log in every single day, you get more and more XP. I do love that feature 100%. But if you're looking at the screen right now, you get to see that there's a live upcoming final and future games. Clicking right now into San Francisco's game where they ended up playing the Jets, you get to see right here a perfect example of the penalty feed where you get to see a play from Tyrod Taylor who ended up having a penalty. And it describes the play well, describes the penalty, and then you get to vote on a good or bad call. So what this does is unlock the next dimension of sport by engaging with real-time polling of referees, players, and teams. You get to view data-driven insights that lead to informed discussions about the games. It is really awesome. Right here, you get to end up seeing a play-by-play result of the game as well. So it's nice to be able to have everything all in one. Ultimately, Penalty Verdict is in the development phase and would love to hear feedback from you as well and what features you would like to add. Maybe you could toss in one of your favorite college teams in there. But look at the link below and be able to join Penalty Verdict today and make your voice heard. And number two, we have these Saints going Caleb Downs. By the way, people will talk about the draft order is going to be intriguing. It is what it is. I don't think the Jets are that bad, but of course the quarterback situation is very rough. I could see it happening. I would be a little bit worried about Garrett Nussmeier, though. Number two, though, the Saints go Caleb Downs. Spoiler alert, I don't even have him on this list right below my face. He is fully graded. He is the number 2 player in the class. I'll just put it out there. He is a frickin' stud. And I don't like him in single high. For some reason, the one issue I have with Caleb Downs is that the moment he is like in a deep safety role, you talk about like free safety, for example, I get worried about him because he looks so much less comfortable. And I see a lot of his easy tackle misses that he makes. It's like, why are you doing that? He makes some of the most amazing tackles in open field, and then he'll miss the easiest ones. And I'm like, why? And it's because when you look at how he plays, there's a lack of composure on certain reps that I think is just because he's newer to the game than, someone who's a 5th-year senior. And I think that he almost doesn't trust himself 100% of the time. which I think he absolutely should. Because the moment that you see him play where you see the patience, you don't see him being all jittery, you see him just be able to take in the play and be able to be himself, he is unfreaking believable. So that's the only reason I could come up with it. It's not a talent issue, it's not an athleticism issue. He just might still be learning the game of football at the next level, which is perfectly fine because he still is insane. And I'm just saying, I'm scrutinizing it in terms of him being the best safety I've ever seen versus being a blue chip talent. Like right now, he's easily a blue chip. We might want to see him take a little bit of a step up in terms of being more consistent for him to really reach the G tier, if you guys understand what I'm saying. We don't like to throw around the word generational, but he has the chance for it. If the Saints were sitting there, I highly doubt that they go after Caleb Downs, but we'll see. I do believe Arch was not included on this. A lot of people, including myself, are acting upon that. At number 3, you got the Giants going Peter Woods. And Peter Woods is fun. I have not been able to grade him fully in all 22, but I've watched a lot of quarterbacks versus Clemson. He is a really good gap penetrator. He's a fun defensive lineman. He's been able to play all over the defensive front as well. Him and TJ Parker really are a nasty duo. I don't think the Giants would be at all in a position to want to go after Peter Woods if they're at number 3. First off, Shane and Dable are gone. We know that, right? Like at that point, if you're at number 3 overall, like let's be realistic, they gone. The problem is your defensive line is arguably the best in the NFL. Why would you want to take one at 3? That's where I'm just concerned. And yes, this is shout out to On3 for being able to repost this, and like I'm doing a mock to mock of a mock to mock. And McShay ended up putting this all out like in a full video on YouTube. So that's why I feel comfortable doing this. I'd feel kind of bad if I'm like just scooting around the $4 a month price tag that's on his website. He ended up posting a whole video, like a 2.5 hour video breaking down his mock draft with no picks that he decided to hide. So if he ended up, like, that's why I haven't done it before. I do feel like a little sleazy if, I'm just kind of like skirting around it. But this is fully public, so I do like to be able to give my thoughts on it. I just do not think that would be the move. I think that would easily be a quarterback, and LaNorris Sellers would be my selection. However, the Rams are the lucky winner of the best player in the entire class. I did not think I was going to love LaNorris Sellers. I'm just going to be honest. He's like, you see him, he's always scrambling, and, he doesn't throw on time. And, when you hear that, you're like, oh boy, here we go. I mean, we just watched Jalen Milroe, who's like running around and then like doesn't throw with proper timing and such. But no shade to Jalen Milroe. I actually think he's in a really good situation. I think he's going to do very, very well. But I'm talking about first round versus, what we're talking about, third round. And LaNorris is unbelievable. He still does have issues with timing. If the guy can learn how to anticipate a throw, it's game over. Like, I'm willing to take a quarterback that gets a little too ballsy and makes some dumb decisions from time to time. If he makes the right decision most of the time, like, he's young. That happens, right? If you have a good enough arm and you're precise enough, that's okay. And I think LaNorris Sellers is a super stud. My comp for him is Superman, but in reality, it is going to be, Cam Newton in his prime the elusiveness that LaNorris has, Cam never had. Like, I legitimately think LaNorris Sellers could end up being a top 2 to 3 quarterback in the NFL if he goes to the right location. But continuing on, Cleveland Browns go Cade Klubnik at 5. I'm going to be honest. I don't disagree with this. I was about to disagree with it, but I'm trying to think of the high-end talents in this class. And, you look at the corner core, and I'm just going to break it down for y'all. It ain't pretty. Like, it is actually really scary how underwhelming this corner class is. Like, very scary. To the point where I have someone who's never started, and I'm only like, I'm regrading every player that I've had pre-graded. So, just FYI, like, I could have had 15 or 20 at this point. And I actually decided to scrap everything and just regrade them from scratch. And I think that's always good. It's always good to just continue making sure your thoughts are, current and up to date. But like, a guy who's never started a single game is like corner 6 for me. It's really scary. Like, it's genuinely terrifying. Looking at how freaking ass these corners that we're taking in the first are. And I'm looking at my board. I don't see any of the corners that I was calling cheeks like listed here, so I'm excited for that. But that was also because I made this before I started really adding in some guys to the list. But Panthers go Francis Mauigoa at number 6 overall. I mean, I don't hate this because your right tackle spot contracts are coming up for Moton. Age as well. He's not the youngest guy on planet Earth. I just need to see Mauigoa's arm length, and I will be honest, Antoine Powell-Ryland kind of cooked Francis Mauigoa a couple of times, so that's a 6th rounder. I want to see a bit more consistency, but he is young. He's athletic. It's exciting to see him take another step. Number 7, the Raiders go Drew Aller. And my concern with this, I don't think this is a bad move. I will say, first off, I'm not going to let y'all know exactly what every single thought of mine on a quarterback is. That's why I made an entire hour-and-a-half video breaking down the quarterback class. But Drew Aller is someone who I have as QB4, so you can skip to that part of the video if you really want to see the in-depth analysis on it, Drew. But the bottom line is, he's gotten better every year, but he is far from ready. If I'm going to be honest, he has a similar grade in terms of talent to Shedeur Sanders. And that's not factoring off the field. I'm not saying he should be a 5th round pick because that would mean every quarterback is 5th round or lower. I thought Shedeur Sanders was a late round 2 grade. That's what I have on Drew Aller right now. Big arm, big build, still not precise, still working as a processor, not an elite athlete. Like, there are limitations to Drew's game. For the Raiders, I love the idea of having somebody grow under Geno, but you still have 2 more years of the Geno project. I'm just going to be completely honest. Drew Aller doesn't get you anywhere closer to where you want to be than Geno Smith does. So I'd prefer to do something that gives you an actual chance to fight versus, if you end up, this is pretty bad if the Raiders are at 7. If the Raiders are at 7, I'd go after best player available, and if you guys suck again, then you're in DJ Lagaway territory, right? Just going to be honest. Drew Aller, I do like Drew Aller. I've wanted him to my Steelers for eons now. I'm just saying at number 7, given the situation and the time schedule, the time frame, I should say, that, Pete Carroll and Geno Smith are on, it doesn't add up to me. At number 8, you got the Colts going Blake Miller. Blake Miller is such a high floor right tackle. He was someone who I had one of those mid-day 2 grades on before he returned to school. And to be honest, I understand why he went back. This class, he could absolutely take a bigger step, and I still think he's growing and developing. But one of the high floor right tackles with Braden Smith's mental health in question, and I believe contract coming up sometime soon, it just makes all the sense in the world to go after right tackle if you don't have faith in the quarterback spot. At number 9, we got the Browns again going TJ Parker. I ended up doing, my first mock the mock, and I totally forgot that the Browns had 2 first-round picks because last year we didn't have repeat firsts. But Browns go TJ Parker here, and I love bringing on that size and physicality and upside there. It'd be nice to see even more firepower on the defensive front. It kind of pisses me off that the Browns ended up making this move instead. I know they ended up getting a lot of role players. They did a good job. But I will say, I still think Abdul Carter would have been a smarter decision. Or Travis Hunter, for that matter. Sometimes you got to take the player that's just too good to pass on. Because TJ Parker is not one of one. I think Abdul might be a little bit closer to that. And then you also talk about, Mason Graham, TJ Parker, and then you also talk about Carson Schwezinger. Actually, you guys then used your own pick on Schwezinger. I think you used the other one in Quinshawn. It's debatable, but I would be disappointed. As excited as I am for TJ Parker to learn under Myles Garrett, if you're going after edge in the first round the next year, man, you could have solved this for the next decade. That's my problem. That's the issue I have with it. At number 10, we got the Patriots going Ruben Bain. He's someone who I have in the second round, second overall pick, 3rd overall pick territory. Ruben Bain's a stud. And I hope he just gets healthy and he's back to the form that he was in 2023. 2024, he was banged up. I still have a ton of respect and love for Ruben Bain. I'm excited to be able to watch the edge class as well. Edge and wide receiver are after corner for me. But let's talk about the other players here. Nick Harbor. You're just talking about DK Metcalf, essentially. Crazy freak athlete at a crazy size, 6'5", 230. Will be running the 4.3s, not the 4.2s. He's a track superstar. And if he ends up playing the game of football better and better, which I think he has improved down the stretch, and my taste study will confirm or deny that, this guy could end up well being worth it, right? I mean, it's hard. You could talk about if Nick Harbor truly reaches the potential that we know he has. There's only one legitimate receiver that has reached that potential with that size, with that speed. And it's very similar to the way I don't like throwing out the generational card. I don't like throwing out the Megatron card. However, that is the ceiling. If you're unguardable, you're unguardable. So Nick Harbor has that potential. I think he'd need to get pretty damn close to be worth the number 11 pick. I think right now he's a little bit more of a late day 2 fun pick rather, or maybe a round 2, taking a swing, not really number 11. But again, we're projecting. It's fun. I still want to give my 2 cents here. Seahawks go Jeremy Bernard. Jeremy Bernard did not really wow me at all when he was at Washington. He's a fun player. I just did not see first-round potential from him. I'd rather go to a teammate I believe he used to have, because I believe Denzel Boston was there in the first place. I prefer that for the Seattle Seahawks and Jeremy Bernard. But I respect it. I like seeing guys who are not the standard copy and paste Carnell Tate, even though Carnell Tate's a freaking beast. I just got to put that out there. He ended up cooking pretty much every corner I've seen him go against. Speaking of one of them, Jermon McCoy. Whew. This is going to be a name that falls, in my opinion. Big time. And that sucks because I was unbelievably hyped for Jermon McCoy. Big and physical, and he is elite physical. Horrible athlete. To the point where I don't know if he's in the 4.6s because he just tore his ACL in January. So he's not going to have that offseason to grow, develop, and get ready. He's having to rehab. He got separated by, there was separation from damn near tight ends on him. It scares me. It really does. And I love his form. I think he flashes in every form of coverage. But if people are trying to shit on Will Johnson for not being a great athlete, Will Johnson's 10 times the athlete of Jermon McCoy. It terrifies me. That being said, I think he's a good fit for the Dolphins. And I'm praying to God that the player that I got excited about comes back and is not the player that Jermon McCoy was when I watched him. I'll just say that. I really, really wanted more. I'll just say this. Jermon McCoy might end up being a guy who's around 100 or 150 on my big board, in that range. It's really sad. And he's not even 200 pounds. That's what's wowing to me. I'm like, this guy's not in the 200 range. It's terrifying. But Dallas Cowboys go Evan Stewart at number 14. Shout out to my boy, Craig LeBlanc. He goes by I think it's CJ2 Live, but shout out to my boy Craig LeBlanc. He's an absolute beast. He actually has worked with Evan Stewart before, and he actually works here in Dallas too. So again, shout out to my guy. He's a really good dude, and he coaches a lot of guys. You can go follow him over on Instagram. He posts a lot of different players over there. That being said, Evan Stewart's dynamic. He's really fun. He's just not really a great build, not really a bad build, but I don't see first round with him. This was actually, the funny thing is, Craig and I ended up starting you can call it relationship, but he's actually someone who's been super chill. I don't know why. The guy has no reason to be chill with me. He actually has a lot more clout than I ever thought he did, and he's still super chill. So again, not here to glaze my boy Craig, but we started our argument over Evan Stewart because he was like, I think he's a second round pick. That was what Craig was saying. And I'm like, gonna be honest, I think he's a day 3 guy. He ended up going back to Oregon, so it's fun seeing that progression there of whether he's going to be at Oregon or not. We'll see about it. And then he ended up going back to Oregon. And I do think that with Dante Moore, there's going to be some, no pun intended, more opportunity for him. I think he's going to be really fun, especially in that Tez role. I really hope he can end up, producing the way that we saw him produce when they gave him the opportunity. If he does produce at that level consistently, then first round's absolutely in the question. The problem is the inconsistency. And of course, that is semi-determinate on whether Oregon wants to use him properly or not. The Cardinals then go Deontay Lawson, linebacker out of Alabama in the first round. I don't really think the Cardinals would be looking at Lawson. I don't think that Lawson's at the same level as Jahad Campbell. I really liked Lawson coming into the year. And Lawson was around 100 on my big board. So I think he's going to probably be around that range. Of course, season-ending injury always sucks. But, thinking that he might take a full tier progression jump, he can end up getting himself into that like 60 range. So hopefully he can get there, and would be a fun target there in round 2, maybe not for round 1. 16, you got the Steelers going Domani Jackson, corner out of Alabama. The thing with Domani is that I feel like he doesn't fit the Steelers. And Domani is really, really fun to watch. He has great man instincts, and he has some flashy athleticism. I thought it was a little toned down last year. Alabama in general, there was something that was off. So I'm going to give him benefit of the doubt for what I saw at USC. And I think he tried to gain some weight a little bit. And there's always a little bit of, when you have a little extra pinchable, you lost a little bit of the MPH. It happens. And obviously, I think Domani's going to continue getting more and more athletic as time goes on, as he's getting to a true NFL cornerback frame. But Domani, I think, is so much more of a man corner. And we're looking at what the Steelers are acquiring. You're looking at Darius Slay, who just came from a very heavy zone defense from Vic Fangio. Like, I don't see that. There's other corners in this class I think could compete at that level. Domani Jackson, as much as I love the guy, I think his dad follows me on Twitter too, so that's kind of fun. But it's just, I don't think that's the right move for the Steelers. I do like the idea of a corner, just maybe not Domani Jackson. Chicago Bears go Jeremiah Love at 17. I ended up hearing his thoughts about this as well. Jeremiah Love just kind of feels like a lock to the Bears at the moment for like the early mocks. I'm not saying it's pretty ballsy to say anything's a lock at this point. I mean, hell, first-round players aren't even a lock at this point, even if they're in the top 10. But Jeremiah Love, at the moment, for the Bears, seems like a very wise investment. There's not very many other areas outside of maybe edge rusher that you can try to point at, something where the Bears really need to try to put the upgrade label on. And Jeremiah Love makes some sense. He does. Makes some sense there. Buccaneers go Keldrick Falk, edge rusher / defensive lineman out of Auburn, 6'6", 288. I don't think that fits the Bucs. I'm just going to be honest. It doesn't fit the Bucs. Like, when have the Bucs, apart from when they just randomly brought on David Walker this past draft, like, their edge rushing core has been 250 and under. And you're bringing in 6'6", 288. I do feel like you're then having him compete with Elijah Roberts. I almost call him Simmons. Elijah Roberts out of SMU. And it's like, do we want to give up on him then? Like, it feels like you're having to tell someone to F off, or it's just like, it doesn't fit the mold that I think it should. And again, I'm not saying that Todd McShay is doing a bad job. None of us know, but I'm just saying, hey, if this ends up happening, these are my thoughts. This would be my reaction if this is the draft. And am I the end all be all? No, but I at least try to explain my thoughts so that if you don't know me or don't love me, then maybe you can understand me. But the Denver Broncos go Anthony Hill Jr., linebacker out of Texas at 19. Linebacker's never a bad idea if you get someone who could be a true Mike. There's not many great linebackers in the NFL. Hate to say it. It's actually quite surprising. It's kind of like a 2 to 3 headed race at the top right now, to the point where we are just like jaw dropped when a linebacker comes and actually competes with Roquan and Fred Warner. Obviously, yeah, I'm post like 10-hour shift, so apologies about the brain lag. But I mean, it's kind of insane. Like, Zach Bond just came out of nowhere. It's like, finally we have some competition at the top. And it's like, if you really think someone could end up being that, whether it be Jahad Campbell, whether it be Anthony Hill Jr., like, take your shot, man. I don't think Deontay Lawson was going to be that. That's why I had my concern. But Anthony Hill had those high-level games that gave me some confidence in what he could be. So I like the potential there. The problem is I also saw games where Anthony Hill was on my stock down list because he ends up letting up like damn near 100 yards receiving. That's something that is kind of tough to be able to continue growing and developing in the middle of a season. So maybe as he gets to go rewatch the tape and process it, he'll get better as a coverage player. So TBD on that. Houston Texans go Isaiah World, tackle out of Oregon. He's a fun one. I think he's transferred from Nevada. Like, I'm excited to see what he's able to do, but I mean, the Texans continue to develop the offensive line. Never a bad idea. Minnesota Vikings go Jair Hill, one of the corners I have yet to fully grade, and he's probably going to be my next one. If I'm not mistaken, I think he is. There's one or two guys, but Jair Hill is like, I'm watching him probably tomorrow. All right, like, let's just be real. I might even do it tonight if I get bored. Those like late night cravings. It's kind of sad. Like, I'm literally talking to people on the phone, and then I'm like, fuck it, I'm getting bored. I'll just pop open some tape. That's how you know I love it. But regardless, Jair Hill, like, he's someone who's popped off before. He needs no introduction. It's just, it's a little bit different when, like, I love Malik Muhammad by, like, watching other players and then just not even thinking about, like, watching him, like, actually the whole play. Hate to say it, like, when you watch somebody, it's like, it really kills the mood. I'm like, damn, like, Jahdae Barron's looking damn good. And it's like, yeah, he is damn good. But you can only learn so much by watching him when he pops, right? Like, the high level play is certainly there. But for Malik Muhammad, I'm just going to break it to y'all. He'll be like 150 to 200 on my board. Jair Hill, he's had some very, very, very eye-popping plays. I'm hoping that it's consistent. Max Clare goes to the Chargers, tight end of Ohio State, formerly, I believe, Purdue. I'm excited to see him get those, like, opportunities. Ohio State, they do utilize tight ends. They have some weird tight ends on their roster. I know number 88 last year was intriguing, but the Chargers being able to utilize an upgrade at tight end, I am far from against it. I'm surprised they didn't really do it until Rondé Gadsden. Then number 23, you got the San Francisco 49ers going after tackle Caden Proctor of Alabama. I know a lot of people are actually quite low on Caden Proctor. Again, by watching players against Caden Proctor, I really, really liked him. That being said, when you sit down and stare at a player every single microsecond of a rep, it shows you all the things that you didn't see before. Sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes it's not. I see some people being a little bit lower on Caden Proctor, including Todd McShay. Now, I don't know if Todd really knows the class to this degree to where he's studied these players, but I'm sure he has a genuinely solid idea. And he still thinks Caden Proctor's first-round player. The Niners could absolutely use a boost on, the offensive line. I'm surprised they didn't do it this past draft. Like, shocked. And we'll see if that ends up coming back to bite him in the ass. But Caden Proctor out of Alabama, a good move there. Then we have the Green Bay Packers going Gabriel Jacas. I think it's Jacas. I think the S is silent, even though I really like calling him Jackass. Like, it's just more fun. And the Discord OGs know we love Gabe all the way back when he was a true freshman. So it's good to see the full life cycle that he's had. And I do think he's a first-round quality player. Again, I haven't graded the edges. So, again, TBD when I say that. I am only done with the quarterbacks. Dunn is a big, like, there's still guys like Sorsby and Eli. I'm forgetting Holstein, I believe is his last name. There's still some guys that I'd want to get to, but let's just be real. Like, Gramps, like, I don't need to, like, Unk here doesn't need to go like 40 quarterbacks deep to actually talk about things, because we're not going to talk about it for a hot minute. I can end up actually talking about some guys that we actually do care about, but Jacas actually is super duper fun to watch, man. He pops when you're not watching him. Fingers crossed that he does when you do. Commanders go Carnell Tate, wide receiver out of Ohio State, man. This guy's been cutting up every corner I'm looking at. If he actually caught that touchdown versus, Jahdae Barron, like, the narrative would be a little bit different. He had one horrific concentration drop that didn't end up, I believe, costing even a touchdown. It just, delayed said touchdown. I think Carnell Tate's going to be really good. Again, by watching other players versus him, I'm hoping that, we end up seeing him really shine. But there's going to be a chance this year, especially with Ibuka gone. There's some targets there to be had. And Jeremiah Smith already was the focal point of the offense. So I'm really hoping that it goes to Tate as well as Claire. Then we have Suntarine Perkins, a linebacker / edge rusher out of Ole Miss, going to the Bengals. With the amount of linebackers that they took in this past draft, I would find this to be an absolute failure of a pick. I love Suntarine Perkins. He is a super fun athlete. He's like 218. He was 210 last year. The guy's been putting on the LBs. And hate to say it, even at sub 220, you're not really built for the NFL. But he is just a freak athlete at that size, as he needs to be. He needs to be. But he is very, very fun. The Bengals have drafted too many linebackers at this point to draft another one in the first. I'd find this to be a massive misutilization of draft capital. At number 27, we got the Titans going Avion Terrell. Spoiler alert, Avion Terrell will probably end up being a top 15 to 20 player on my board. He's a very fun player. He is undersized, but that does not mean he is weak. He is a big hitter. He is very dominant. I like what he brings to the table, and I'm excited to see him continue to grow and mature in 2025. At number 28, we got the Chiefs going wide receiver Antonio Williams out of Clemson. got back-to-back Clemson players. Antonio Williams was number 20 wide receiver, or 19 for me, coming into the year last year. So you guys know I really like this guy. And he got even better. And watching Cade Klubnik, Antonio Williams popped off. I absolutely could see him going as a potential late first. Probably will end up being like a day 2 pick, but I still love giving love to players that I think deserve it. Antonio Williams has that talent. He has that it factor. Detroit Lions at 29 go Makai Lemon, wide receiver out of USC. I've seen some people who believe this guy's wide receiver 1. I'm just going to be completely honest. I have not dove into the tape on this guy. I'm excited to, TBD, but the Lions going after wide receiver is something I've been begging for them to do until they send 3 third-round picks essentially for Isaac Tesla. I don't mean to rub it in, but it's like, oh my God. Especially if they end up taking Makai Lemon at 29, that it's like, you got to at a certain point, like, we all got to have a laugh. Like, we'll chalk it up to a laugh. An expensive laugh. But if wide receivers the move for the Lions in the first round, we know that move was absolute cheeks. So Makai Lemon, though, he could be the wide receiver 1 in the class. I do know if there's any momentum towards them being a wide receiver 1 in the class, then they obviously got some talent. And that's really good to see. This wide receiver class, in my opinion, is being very underrated. Not by Todd. I mean, we're seeing wide receivers fly off the board here and there. But, just by watching them versus the defensive backs, there's some guys, including DeAndre Moore Jr. here out of Texas, going to the Bills at 30, wide receiver. Bills continue to load up on weaponry. I'm not against it. I mean, Elijah Moore showed that they can still be looking to acquire weaponry. And so DeAndre Moore, not going to say no. There's a lot of targets to be had. So I'm excited to see where those targets go. At 31, we got the Ravens going defensive interior, Caleb Banks out of Florida. You can see my preseason guess was Caleb Banks might be a top 3 to 10 because there's some other guys that need to be in here. Player on my board. And, Caleb Banks, I still see him rising up and rising up. He was probably going to end up, based on his grade, I think he would have ended up with a weighted score of 73.25, which would have put him probably 50. So he would be a top 50 player. I do think he ends up continuing to ascend. Then you got the Eagles going Joe Royer, tight end out of Cincinnati. Philadelphia taking the tight end at 32. I mean, the Eagles, we all kind of know they should be going tight end. I have not studied Joe Royer. I have not heard someone hype up Joe Royer once. So thank you again to Todd for, even when I disagree with certain things, still bringing up some really cool names that we don't know about because no one knows who the first round quality players are yet. And another name to add. But thank you so much for watching, showing the love you always do. See you later. Peace.